Hey, this is Max Danziger, platinum-selling recording artist and the greatest wrestler of all time. You're watching CCP Podcasting.
Friends of CCP Podcasting, welcome to a live taping of Beyond the Bell. I am Chris Page. That is Todd Tabar Ramsey. Toddy, how you doing today, buddy?
Today is a day, and I'm happy to be here. Really excited to talk to our guest that we're going to have again here tonight. And, it just doesn't get much better. I love circling back around and catching up with people. So I'm ready to go.
It should be a fun time, that is for sure. 100% correct. We are circling back around tonight. Our guest didn't come on a live show with us the first go around, but now that we have pivoted that to live settings, we definitely wanted to have him back. We had such a good time with him the first go around. I expect nothing less on the second. He is from right here in sunny Florida, and I have a feeling that things might get a little viral. Our guest today is the influencer himself, Mr. Wilson Dyer. Welcome back to Beyond the Bell Live. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I feel so cool to circle back now because I feel like there's so much to now talk about since we last talked.
And that hadn't been that long ago. To be
Yeah.
I think this is the quickest turnaround I think we've had. It's always fun times to have you. We've been able to stay in contact since your first appearance, and obviously we'll stay in contact a lot more moving forward as well. Toddy.
Oh yeah.
One of your faves.
I know. I was so excited when I heard you were coming back. You were somebody that I've gotten to know, and I'm really inspired by the things that you do and the things that you stand for. And just watching you grow, not just on social media, but with everything that's going on in your life, is such a pleasure to have you back. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
I'm so happy to be back. I think I'm when I was looking at my calendar and I was like, I can circle back. Oh, I immediately jumped on the opportunity. I was like, let's do this.
Yeah, man, this is exactly what our platform is here for. It is all, it's all in wrestling, and it's fun, and to be able to sit down and chit chat with all you guys from all over the world and get your different perspectives. And the beautiful thing about it is we all grow and we all move forward, and our journeys constantly continue. And to be able to pick your brain a little bit more, because we have had the opportunity to see you, we have had the opportunity to kind of fill you out a little bit more and pick your brain on what you're wanting to do. And there's a lot more to you than just professional wrestling, and that's some of that we'll dive into here in just a little bit. Catch us up. What's been going on since your last visit?
Ooh, I feel like there's so much. I've since debuted. I've debuted. I had my debut over at the establishment. So I've been working with them. I also debuted at Toma, where I got to see y'all in person, which was a really cool moment. But I've since made my in-ring debut, and I'm now 8 matches deep and officially on my first tour of dates, aka my Summer of Influence tour, which started June 1st, and we're rolling until August 30th. So gonna be staying busy with wrestling.
Toddy, start us off, man. Where do you want to go?
So, before we had talked about how you have been a master of all things that you were doing when you were outside of the ring. Now you've made your debut. So I want to walk back to that first match where you were debuting. I want to know how you were feeling before, when you finally hit that ring. What was the influence feeling like, and how was that for you?
Oh, it's such a crazy thing to think back to that match specifically, because it's like now I've just been in the ring so much that I still feel that same energy from my first match. So my first match was obviously in the Golden Ticket Battle Royal at Rise of the Empire. So it was the first time we'd ever been in that facility. So there was a lot of excitement with that, but then also just finally getting to step in the ring, debut, like, and really get in front of a live audience. It was such a cool moment. I will definitely say the nerves were through the roof that whole, like, before the match. I remember, like, everyone looking at me and they're like, it's just a battle royal, man. It's just about, and I'm like, and it just was one of those things where, like, there's still so many nerves to that. But I think once my music hit, once they said, all right, you're on your way out, like, you're going out to the ring, there, like, all the nerves went out the ceiling, and that just, like, character just took over. And I got to work with Mikey Spandex, and then I got to also work with Smooth Operator. So that was such a cool thing. Like, Terry Kidd and Mikey Spandex, like, people who have been in this, like, game for so long. I got to work with them in that battle royal and have, like, a moment with them. And then I got thrown out by Destin, which I can't say, like, I'm too happy about, but, you know,
it's just so, that was so funny. And then I got eliminated by Destin. It was like, I was riding such a high, and then I got eliminated by Destin. First of all,
listen.
Before we go too deep, I do want to throw a shout out. Rachy does things in chat, says Summer of Influence is you're going over your schedule. So Summer of Influence, I do want to point out UK Paul in chat. We see you. If you're in chat and you have a question, by all means, drop them. We will get them looped into the conversation in some form or fashion. I just wanted to get that out of the way before we got too deep, because there's no telling what we're going to talk about and where we're going to go. But if you do have specific questions, please, by all means, drop them in chat and we will get them worked in. And then you were eliminated by Destin.
Yeah, I feel like it's so crazy, because I think if I stand corrected, I think Destin only debuted at the establishment like a show before me. So it's like we've had this similar, like, path at the establishment where, like, we both, like, debuted and, like, worked the same shows. And so and then obviously I got to face him at the Orlando City Soccer show, like, for the tailgate show, and that was a really cool moment as well. So
That was a fantastic match.
I saw clips of it. Is the full match out?
yeah, it's actually out. It's out on my YouTube channel at the Wilson Dyer.
Plug it. Not plug it. Okay, I didn't know.
So yeah, the whole match is out. And it's really interesting because that was the first match I got to work heel. So I had worked heel for the Golden Ticket Battle Royal, and then for the first couple matches that I had after that, I was working more face. And then that was the first time I got to really, like, I don't want to say play to my element. I mean, yeah, play to my element as the Wilson Dyer character. I feel like it just does so well as a heel, and I feel like I just have this knack for getting people to boo me. But it was listen, it's the face. People just hate me. So
Join
it was
the
really
fucking
cool
club.
because so Destin, obviously, you know, when I met him initially at the HOC, and then, you know, watched him grow, and then I grew at the same time. Like, it was one of those things where, like, he just was someone I've always wanted to, like, work in a match, and, like, to do it so in such a interesting venue, but also in such, like, a cool moment for me to finally get to play heel. It was just a really cool match, and honestly, if I had to, like, think back to, like, all the matches I've had since, it still ranks up there as my favorite. Just because, like, it was genuinely one of those matches where everything felt right. Like, there was nothing, like, there was no nerves before the match, there was no nerves during the match, and there was no nerves after the match. So it just worked so well, and I think that's genuinely also, like, credit to him. Like, he's 16, and he's just such a talented wrestler beyond his years. So,
well,
like,
it's also
a lot of props to him.
A level of comfortability too. You're already comfortable with him, versus being put in there with somebody you don't really know or maybe aren't as familiar with, it allows you to calm the fuck down. That's a big misconception. You know, when you go out through that curtain, I mean, depending on what's happening, you could be your status could be mild to wild, right? Like nerves or what have you. I wrestled straight for 6 years, and I got nervous every time I walked out through the curtain. It went away, but it's still there. But to be able to sit down and have a match with somebody that you have that level of comfortability with, I could see that being one of your favorite matches because you're obviously tighter with Destin on the backside of the equation. And it only means too, like the more that you guys work together, the more that chemistry is gonna gel. And ultimately, the name of the game is to take an act on the road, right? Like you can tour different companies with the same storyline because just because somebody saw it here doesn't mean that they saw it over there. And if you find somebody like that, like that's how we made money back in my day. It was if you found somebody that you gelled with and that you worked with and that you could do really well with. Keep in mind, internet wasn't a thing, so it was all really word of mouth, or where if you weren't there, you didn't really know. So it was a lot easier to get away with back then. But I would go from Gadsden, Alabama, with a guy named Seth, and go from Gadsden to Birmingham to Montgomery, down into Florida, into Georgia. We would run the same story for 6 or 7 weeks. But it's how we stayed busy. It's how we made money. And if you and Destin could do that shit, y'all are young, you're both super talented. Like you could make a pretty penny. Now the game is getting 2 or 3 of those guys together because now you've each got 2 or 3 opponents and you could tour together collectively. You see where I'm going? Yeah. There's a lot to it. Toddy, we come around to you.
So you could definitely tell you were in your element that night. And the funny thing, so for those of you that don't know, we talk a lot. And I always hear his matches before I see his matches because he goes live and I can hear everything that's going on. And then they'll start wrestling. And he's really good about being in character. And you were so in your zone. Like, you've always been phenomenal on the mic. You're quick-witted. You know exactly what to say. You know how to pivot to just get them angrier and angrier. And you came out there, because I know how excited you were, because I think we talked the night before that match. And I was like, okay, I'll be there, and, I'll make sure to listen. And you hit the curtain. You came out, and you talked about being from New York. You made them super angry when you did that. And you went on to, like...
I gotta go back home, chant. Like, up there, I was like, I called my mom after that, and I was like, Mom, they told me to go back home.
When I tell you, that crowd hated you. That was nuclear heat that you were out there getting. And I was like...
Think about the sports aspect of it, right? Like, obviously, baseball's a really big thing down here, and it's a big, big thing in Tampa, which is a hop, skip, and a jump away from where you guys are at, right? So, to be fair, the New York Yankees spring training is in Tampa. They have their own field, Steinbrenner Field. So there's like a rivalry with New York and Florida. Like, people, unless you live here, or up there, you will not know or understand. It's the equivalent of Auburn versus Alabama, Toddy. The equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you. So walk me through that, because, like, obviously I got the "you suck" chants, and I got the "fuck you" chants. I got all those. I never got a go back home chant. This is one of your first matches, and you're getting a chant that says "go back home." In your head, as you're hearing this, how is that processing to you while you're in ring?
It was so hard not to smile. Like, I can genuinely say, so the promo,
Bro,
I remember the promo.
You should have made a heart hand and just...
It was so funny, because I was talking, and it was obviously in front of Orlando City Soccer Stadium. So the whole, idea was, okay, all these guys are fans of Orlando City. And so the whole promo, I'm literally just like, I would rather be flying back home to New York than looking at Vamos Orlando. Like, and I was just like, and then all of a sudden I said that line where I'm like, I like rather than looking at Vamos Orlando, like I'd rather be flying back home to to Syracuse, New York. And I wasn't even like, I was like working like front of the crowd, and I hear just out of the back, like I just had to turn slightly, and all I hear is the start of a "Go Back Home" chant, and then the whole crowd did it, and it was so funny because then right after the "Go Back Home" chant, all of a sudden I said, "You want me to go back home? You want me to go back home? Too bad." And that crowd immediately just booed because they're like, "Oh man, we can't get rid of this guy." But yeah, genuinely, I think it was such a cool moment because exactly, it's like you get the "you suck" chants, you get the "fuck you" chants, you get those certain chants that are just kind of like, they're just. It's like you don't hear "Go Back Home" a lot.
They're not creative chants. They're the typical basic chants.
They're the cookie Carter ones.
They stepped outside of the box to tell you to go the fuck back home.
It was such a cool moment because I remember like it was just all of a sudden I'm like, okay, no, I know this match will be good because now they're invested in me getting beat up, but also they want me to go back home. Like they don't want to see me. I'm like, this is great.
And they kept that.
Go ahead.
The offensive, and they were so mad. Like if Destin like touched you with his fingertip, they were just ready to cheer. But you got a lot of heat during the match, so you like kept it going. And both of you had some pretty good offense there, so you were definitely in your element for sure.
Yeah, my jaw hurts from that super kick he popped me with. Yeah, pop up super kick. Yeah, no, my jaw. I think it's like out of place still. But no, it was such a cool moment because exactly that. It's like the crowd stayed with the match the whole time, and it's like for a crowd to stay with you throughout like a whole match. One is like even if it's like an arena show where you're in like they're here to see that is one thing. But like for people who are not here to see that, like they're not expecting live wrestling. They're here for a soccer game. For them to stay with us throughout that whole match, it was just such a cool moment because like exactly like that. Like I would do like a chop and I'd be like talking to the crowd and they'd boo me, and all of a sudden Danny would reverse it and then chop me, and then all of a sudden the crowd just like it just explodes because they're like finally like. And so it was such a great match, and I love talking about it because it exactly that. It's one of those like matches, like everything just worked well.
So now what you need to do is remember back to what worked so well here. When you come back, do it again, but amp it up a little bit. When you have something like this, and this is something that I think is really cool to be able to talk to someone who is as young in the industry as you are, because you're still discovering yourself. You're still figuring out what works and what doesn't, and you've only had a handful of matches to make this happen in. So for you, if you see that this worked, then you're not going to get that reaction from everybody, but you know where you're going to get it from. That should be your test audience in your head. Anytime that I'm in front of this audience, because this is the reaction I got, that's where you start testing new stuff. Start figuring out, what can work and what can't. Take what you did here and take it elsewhere and try and enhance your game the entire way around. I think that's really cool to see because you have to elicit a response. And in order to elicit response, you have to have an emotional connection. That means that you had that emotional connection with that audience from point A to point B. That's nothing to sneeze at and nothing to look past. It is something that is very crucial and critical when it comes to performing in front of an audience. It's about psychology. It's about manipulating the audience so that you get what you want out of them. You did a really good job there. And while some of that may have been organic, you did enough to touch a nerve, and with however many people was there, you touched nerves, and that's what a heel's supposed to do. So you did fantastic there, and you had a really good baby face with Destin. That's why I say, like, if y'all put some shit together and just start touring some of the feds, you guys could put something together and take it on the road. And when I mean on the road, in and around Florida, like in this area, there's plenty of feds. Uh, and the more you build momentum, the more that you build that story, could be one of those local feuds or those state feuds that goes forever. It could build the state. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen it happen in Georgia all the time. I see it happening in Australia and in the UK all the time. It can happen here too. And I think that you're on the path to doing that. Now, something I do want to spend a few minutes talking about, because I'm not that familiar with the establishment. I have seen, I've seen a little bit. I haven't been able to sit down and catch a full show just yet. It is on my list for an Inside the Indies, and it's coming. It's just a matter of when. So talk to me about, how did you link up with them, and what's the story behind the Fed there?
Yeah. So I'll answer first how I got in with the establishment, and then so it's such a funny story, and I've never gotten to share this story of how I got in with, like, the establishment. So I obviously knew Rhys, Patty, and like a couple of those guys had gone to the establishment, and it's run by DMC, and like a couple other people. So I had never talked to DMC directly. Like, me and him were like mutuals on Facebook. Like, we were friends on Facebook, and then that was it. There was no conversation. And then he had put out a post right before MegaCon of this year where he was like, "Hey, we're looking for someone to do our new social media." And so I had thrown out my name. I was like, "Hey, I'd love to help with the social media. Like, I've done it before. I'd love to do it." And so MegaCon came around. I was there helping backstage, and I was slothy for everyone who if you look at on Instagram at MegaCon, I was slothy. That was a cool. I'm sorry, got to talk about it. I was slothy at that show. That was great. It was fun, but hot under the mask. I'm gonna be honest. did not like that part, but so I was backstage, and DMC, I tell him all the time, he scared me. I thought I was gonna get jumped backstage. He looks at me, he goes, "Hey, I need to talk to you privately." I'm like, "Oh no." Me being green, I'm like, I did something wrong. And he offered me, he was like, "Hey, we want to bring you on as a social media guy. If you're willing, like, we have our new show, The Establishment Presents Love or Hate, for Valentine's Day. Like, let's bring you on to the team, and let's start working." And so I started getting in with them and just started doing their social media at first. And then DMC had been like, "Hey, if you ever like have your gear with you and like want to like wrestle, like, let me know." And so then I also started training under DMC at Empire Pro Wrestling Institute. And so then Rise of Empire came about, and they were like, "Hey, we have this battle royal, this golden ticket match. And so, let's start getting you like wrestling." And so now I kind of do both the social media for the establishment and wrestle. And that's such a cool, like, because I feel like it gives me such a unique perspective when it comes to like social media, because it's like, I look at it from what like the wrestlers want to see, and then I also see it from the perspective of what the social media manager wants to see. So it's like, it's such a unique perspective. As for the story of the establishment, I want to say they're relatively a new promotion. I want to say they started about 2022, if I'm not mistaken. They haven't been long. They haven't been running long, in regards to the Florida scene, but they've been mainly in like that Orlando, like Central Florida area, Orlando. And it's such a great crew of people. I genuinely say that, like, it's one of my favorite locker rooms I've been in. Even like before I started wrestling, like I was in like a couple other like locker rooms, but genuinely, I think there's so many creative people there. Chris's favorite person, Casey Vi, is there.
Yeah. Yeah, baby. Vi will be here at the end of the month. I cannot wait. The method is right.
And it's such a cool like group. And right now I think we're hitting such a really cool creative point with the establishment and like what we're doing moving forward. Obviously, my story at the establishment is now I'm paired up with Rhys, Maddox, Kid Koota, and Casey Rocker as the new generation. We just debuted a new general manager figure, the anonymous general manager of the establishment, which is an AI program.
Can I give you a spoiler?
What?
It's not an AI program, brother. It's been me all
along. Listen, I'd pop for it. It'll work. And then obviously now we also have like Destin has been. I mean, his story is also really interesting because he's kind of getting that real like babyface arc where he's overcome a lot and he continues to face like new odds. So, the story with the establishment is, there's so many that are just so exciting. And then unfortunately, Chris, I'm sorry to tell you this, Casey Vi lost the executive championship.
I know, I saw it. Made me sad.
Yeah, the Vi method didn't work.
Almost shed a tear.
Almost. Listen, it's setting up for the comeback. He's gonna come back. I promise. At least I hope. I'm a believer of the Vi method.
It's not
the viral method.
It's not a cult. Dottie says it best all the time. It's not a cult.
It's not.
It's a method, and those who believe in the Vi method typically find success. It's proven. It's there. It's right there. It's in front of your face. So.
Listen, Brian Atomic followed the method, and now he's executive champion. So I think maybe like he says no, but I can't say.
His mind keeps telling him no, but his body keeps telling him yes. I got them both. Oh, that's a first. Oh, there's a clip. We'll put that one out right now. Got him. It took 28 minutes to get you both to crack. 28 minutes. That is impressive. In all seriousness, let's get back to business, because again, I see the clips, I see the stuff that you guys are posting at the establishment, and I see a lot of very familiar faces. I keep trying to get down to a show so I can see it for myself. It just haven't been able to line up the dates on my side of the coin. As you know, we tend to have gotten way busier than I anticipated.
Oh yeah,
but here we are, with your finding your footing. Actually, Ty, let me come over to you because I was about to take it away elsewhere. What do you have about the establishment? Anything on your mind?
No, I was just gonna say I've seen the stuff that you've been doing since you took over social media, and the graphics works, the video work, everything that has been going on. What you're doing is definitely working, because when the establishment posts, it comes up to the top of my algorithm, which, like you said it before, I have so many things that in that algorithm for you to like take something and for it to be number one when I log on. That means you're absolutely doing something right, because I'm like all over the place with all the people that I follow and do things with. And you can definitely see there's a lot going on there. And so you're doing that, you're wrestling in the matches, and God bless you, because you wrestle with a cell phone for most of the match. And to the point where we have the running, it's not a joke. I really am getting you an OtterBox for your birthday, because that poor phone.
Listen, I'm so I've been watching a lot of AAA. I've been watching a lot of AAA ever since when Worlds Collide showed up. Specifically, I love him so much. I know everyone agrees. Mr. Iguana has been my guy to watch because just his wrestling style with the plush iguana in one hand and still be able to maneuver in the ring is just, as someone who wrestles with something in their hand most of the match, it's such a really cool thing to see, because it's okay, now how do you make having an object in your hand work while you're trying to do certain moves? And Mr. Iguana he does it so well with the iguana, and I love it. He's been added to my film study list, which has gotten even longer since we last spoke.
Yeah, it was a pretty impressive list. I have to say that.
It's gotten better. It's even gotten even better. Because now it's also a mix of what Rhys has shown me, and all them, and they've put me on to so many people that now it's just like a 3 pages long.
Well, I do want to talk to you, because that is a pretty big faction that you mentioned, and now you guys are together. So for those that haven't seen it, you're the young generation. What is the young generation all about?
Well, I think it's exactly it's disrupting the system. It's you have, I genuinely think you have 4 of the hungriest young talents at the establishment: Rhys, me, Koota, KC. You have four people who genuinely are so hungry to be in the spotlight, and now it's disrupting what is the norm. It's no longer we're setting the tone. We're setting the expectation of what is we're disrupting what the norm is for a new kid in this industry. You have me, a trendsetter, a viral icon. You have Rhys, who is just carving his own path as a second generation king. You have Kid Koota, who you just watch a match of his, and he's untouchable. I genuinely his gimmick is not his name is true to him. And then you have KC, the sensation of a new generation, and that makes this up. You have 4 of the hungriest talents at the establishment who are young and ready to just take what we feel is ours. And we just put the whole establishment roster on notice at this last show. So
I think you're muted, Chris.
Absolutely was. What?
I was like, oh yeah, this is a great question.
is 3 of the 4 that you've just mentioned, yourself currently, and Rhys is on his way in July, and so is Kid Koota in July. So we'll have a good showing there amongst the establishment and several others. Because Rhys is all over the place. Reality
Yeah.
of wrestling. He's getting some reps in there. Just had a fucking great match with Danny Limelight.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of things happening. There's a lot of talent there in this group, and somebody that I think maybe doesn't get enough love. Casey Rocker. That guy is fucking solid. When it comes to what he does inside the ring. So what was the concept outside of you guys just taking what's y'all's? What was any kind of behind the curtain, if you will, on the formation of it? Was it just you guys wanted to work together, and this was just the opportunity to do it, or what's that? How does that come together? On camera, obviously, you show up and you're at house.
Yeah. I think it's a mixture of like a couple of things. I think for me personally, like when I came into like wrestling, one of the first people I ever like really like remember sitting there and like really finding as an inspiration was Casey. You know, when I was training and was watching him, like it was such a huge inspiration, him. So I knew always that I wanted to work with him in some capacity, whether that was a program as like a match, a series of matches, or if it was, you know, a tag team or even a faction. And so there was a lot of like, oh, you know, we want to all work together because, you know, Rhys and Koota and I and KC all are friends outside of like the establishment. We all hang out, you know. Me and Rhys talk comics like all the time. It's kind of bad. But it was just kind of the perfect melting pot because all four of us were kind of in this moment of like, no, we didn't have stories to work with because obviously Rhys was with Wayward Sons, with Patty. But it was the perfect moment because we all kind of were at this moment of like, okay, where can we go story wise that fits all of where our characters need to go? And so it was kind of taking the already like tight bonds that we had out like behind the curtain and going, okay, now let's give you guys the like force to like go and work together and elevate your guys' selves because, you know, the goal is obviously as you said, Chris, earlier, like when you can find a set of people that you can travel with and bring across like anywhere, you know, that's what's special and that's what you want to find in this industry. And so, you know, the goal for us is also to just like take this on the road so that, you know, it's exactly that. It's allowing the four of us to really build each other up as well because, you know, for me as like I'm only 8 matches in and I'm getting paired with KC who has a lot of reps under his belt. You have Rhys who's getting his reps in, but you know, he's getting the spotlight on him, and then also Kid Koota. So it's like, you know, it's also a way for me and others to like elevate each other by being put in this group.
Facts, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to come over to the chat. You have 2 questions from Rachie Does Things. Special shout out to you. Your interactions are always the absolute best on social media and every time
Facts.
we're on the air. So we appreciate you so much. She wants to know what's your dream match and who is your dream tag team partner?
Ooh, okay. So so I feel like I have like a lot of people like my dream matches. I feel like it. So right now, I will say, one of my dream matches for a while was Destin. See, okay, I'm gonna give 2 answers. I'm gonna give 2 answers. One that is like on the independent scene, and then one that's just like overall like federation like. So if I had to say my dream match for like Federation, that I'd probably go Carmelo Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
Carmelo Hayes for my dream match for that. And then if I had to go independent scene, I'm gonna give top 3 currently. Noah Vale has been in the conversation. They just had a banger match at River City Wrestling Con, which I gave them their flowers about on social media. But they are definitely a person I would love to face. Jose Zamora, the first mic'd up wrestler, the Spotlight. I'd love to face him. And then someone I think Chris has heard me talk about him a million times, Tim Dynamite.
Yeah.
Oh.
New follower of social media. We finally got him. we
Now we just
finally
gotta get him
got
on the podcast.
A work in progress. That's that takes time. Old Dynamite. It took a year to get a fucking follow. So, but I can only imagine how long it's going to take to get him on a podcast. But it is definitely a work in progress, man. I think the world of Dynamite. I think what he's doing up north with Super Crazy is something that needs to be seen, and I think he's a hell of a performer. A hell of a performer. He's great on the microphone. He's fucking fluid in the ring. The kid's gonna be a star. He's going to be a star. He is somebody in the next 5 to 6 years you're gonna see him on television. No doubt about it. You can't tell me otherwise because that kid's got it. Dynamite I knew about. Dynamite and your other answers have changed since the last show, which is fantastic because that's the beautiful thing about professional wrestling is it all changes. It's going to change tomorrow. You're going to find somebody else. You'll be like,
with how much AAA I'm watching, the dream match may change. And then I think there was a tag team question, correct?
Yes. Okay. Your dream tag team partner.
This is such a hard one. Who would I want to tag with?
Matthew Ennis.
I think that's my bestie right there. That's bestie. He hates that I call him bestie, but that is my bestie there.
Violence achieved.
No, viral achieved. That's our tag team name. Viral achieved.
Oh, you already thought about it.
He's gonna hate me. I'm gonna see a message pop up in like a second.
Oh no, because I'm gonna clip that and put it out there. And now every time that motherfucker opens his mouth, I'm gonna start calling him viral achieved. Every time.
I'm just gonna get a shirt that says bestie and just tag him a bunch of times obnoxiously on Instagram and see what he does.
Listen, exactly. The merch is coming soon. But no, I think if I had to go overall, like dream tag team partner would be like a Tyler Breeze. I'd love, the first selfie stick. I feel like us both with those would look great. But I think if I had to go with someone on the independent scene that's currently rocking and rolling, I think such a hard one. It's such a good one. I think I gotta kind of go. I kind of go with someone who I already am currently tagging with. I think Rhys was definitely one of those people I wanted to tag with the Viral Kings. I think that was always I think there's a social media post from 3 months into me training of me on a commentary desk, hyping up Rhys. And so it's the progression of where we've gone since that moment to now, I think, but he was always a dream tag team partner for me. So I think, to get that tag team match, me and him versus someone would be one of my dream people.
Let me ask you this: when this group came together, didn't that come together at the behest of Big Boy Patty?
Yeah, it was Patty was just I'd say just an obstacle on the road. So
I mean, so now let me ask you the $1 million question. What do you think is going to happen next now that Big Boy Patty, two of his best friends, have turned their back on him? Do you think he's going to take that laying down?
It's such a good question. It's such a good question. If I had to say, I think he should. Do I think he will though? No, unfortunately, I don't think he will. I think he should, because
well, how do you think that is for you?
Like always, going viral.
Okay. I'm genuinely
like I
curious because I think that you guys could poke a bear that you're not wanting, that you may not need to poke. And I'm curious to see how the establishment as a roster takes to this. When's the next show?
June 21st at the Tavern. Summer Heat Aftermath.
June 21st. Take over for a second, Toddy. Let me look at some dates real quick. Anything?
So Rachie asked another question. She said, "You said you were coming to Canada for a match. Where exactly? Which province? I might be able to show up."
Ooh. So I'm still figuring out the details of that show. That should be August 30th. I believe that is.
Dude, we need to hook him up with Bad Nanny.
Mm-hmm.
I was seeing Bad Nanny. I saw.
Oh my God, she is such a sweetheart, dude. Such a sweetheart.
Amazing.
I mean, I felt bad saying the word fuck after I said it because she just has such that wholesome thing. It took her about 40 minutes and she finally dropped a cuss word. And I did not feel bad about it at all after that. Bad Nanny. if you guys are here watching, you need to look up Bad Nanny. She's priceless. She is a national treasure. End story. And she is Canadian.
Yeah. So listen, it's actually me and Ryan Quill are supposed to go up to Canada. So, which is really exciting because me and Ryan are like, we're also like, to get to tour with him is also interesting because he doesn't travel for shows like a lot, but like he's been in the industry, but he took a little bit of a break to kind of recenter and everything. And so to get to work with him is an exciting little pairing because obviously we also were coaches at the kids camp. So, it's one of those things where like we've already like worked together in a way. So
June 21st is a Saturday, correct?
yes.
Where's the show at?
Orlando.
I'll be there. I have nothing on my agenda on that particular Saturday outside of regular live shows. I will put a kibosh on those. I'm going to come down there. I need to see what happens next. He's not going to take us laying down.
You're going to see what you always see when you watch a Wilson Dyer match, and that's me going viral. So I mean, you're treating yourself. This is your vacation.
Well, I just think somebody's going to get punched in the face, and I think it's going to be cool to watch. And I don't know who that's going to fall on. I know this. I won't drink this time, and you'll catch that reference. Oh my goodness, we went off the rails with that one. Listen, June, there's something that is to shift back something more serious, and let's have a conversation about this. Obviously, it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and that's something that you're a pretty big proponent of. I've seen a lot of the posts go out on social media promoting and all that comes along with it. What can you tell us about your journey within men's health or your health and mental health specifically?
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk about this. I think as someone I've been surrounded by mental health my whole life, like by like people who struggle with it, people who are in the progress. So to really talk about my story of mental health. So I got diagnosed with depression and anxiety right around when COVID started. I went through a pretty traumatic experience, so that kind of set me on the path of starting to really deal with it. I remember before 2020, I was I don't want to use the term normal because I feel like using the term normal when you talk about mental health just doesn't feel right. When you're talking about it, like I didn't struggle before 2020 is what I'll say. You know, I was a very I didn't have any of those issues or illnesses that I now do. So 2020 was when I really started experiencing that. I started having, you know, depression, anxiety, PTSD. I'd also always been very like hyperactive. So then I also got diagnosed with ADHD probably about a year ago. And then just recently I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So my story regarding all that, I've always found that for me, my biggest comfort when it came to dealing with all that was being physically active. You know, so I was a competitive dancer for 7 years, stopped right when COVID happened, moved down to Florida, started playing volleyball, then did wrestling, like Greco-Roman wrestling, did soccer, and then, you know, finally got into wrestling. And so I've always been very much like, my story has always been very like, I find a lot of comfort in, you know, in being physically active when those type of moments happen, you know, no matter what. It, like with my bipolar disorder, one of those things, like unfortunately it's cyclical. It comes in waves. So you go from being in this really like productive high to all of a sudden, you know, I think you know, to share like a real story, right after my match with DMC at an establishment show, I remember it was right when about like a couple days before I made my one pose. I remember I couldn't get out of bed. Like I physically was just like so drained mentally, and I was in such a depressive episode due to my bipolar disorder, that I didn't want to get out of bed. And I remember I called out of work. So I literally spent a week in bed and did not move. And it's like the one thing though that finally got me out of that was going to training, getting in the ring and working out. Because for me, it's always been that like constant thing I've been able to like lean my back on. And so many people have those, you know, there's so many people that I think once you're able to find that thing that, you know, breaks you out of that, it helps so much. I won't say it ever will like resolve it, you know, unfortunately, like that's the reality of mental health. You know, it's something you're constantly dealing with. You know, once you start your journey with it, you know, you're going to constantly deal with it. But finding those ways to cope and finding those ways to get out of your head, I think, is the biggest thing to help.
I want to commend you for sharing and being so open with your journey as you have been, because, you know, just from the times we've been on Instagram Live together, you have such a following, and there's so many people that look up to you, and they come and they ask these questions, and you sharing that journey lets people know that they're not alone. And in addition to the therapy, in addition to talking to it, your support system, I'm going to catch you off guard here. You ready? Your amazing support system in your girlfriend, who I happen to like, and many people have said on the lives, we like her more than you. But she's been an amazing support system, realizing when something was wrong and being there for you. So I do want to talk about the importance of having that support system and what that does for you. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah. So, I think you did catch me off guard. I wasn't ready. But No, I think having such a great support system, and not just Ashley. I think having, my roommate Edwin, having my parents, my sisters, Rhys, Patty, Casey, Koota, Jason, Rhys's dad, all these people. I think it's such an important thing because it's having that one person who is in your corner and is proud of you for the little things of even just like getting out of bed in the morning. It changes your outlook on a lot of things, and I think it's such an important thing when you have that support system backing you, because it feels less like it's you versus the world. It's more of a manageable, like, hey, I'm not alone going through this. Like, they may not, like, my roommate Edwin may not struggle with bipolar disorder like I do. He may not struggle with anxiety like I do. But, like, he's there when I need him to listen. He's there when I need him to help me get out of my rut. And having that is vital, especially when you are dealing with it. So yeah, I think this having a support system is so important.
Oh, your sister's here. Shout out to you know how we feel about you.
Oh, no,
So she says his support system is pretty awesome, like me, his sister. We definitely love you. It was such a blast being on live and having you on there with us. Oh, that's so awesome. I'm so glad you could make it.
I got that as a clip, but I'm gonna put that one out too.
I didn't expect my sister to pop in.
Surprise, surprise, surprise. I always say, brother, you never know what'll happen when you're on live, man. You never know who'll come in and who'll say anything. Who's, glad to have you here, fam. Sister Dyer, you're always welcome. I think that the fact that you're as open as you are about it, and I think it's positive. You know, I personally don't have bipolar. One of my old friends did, and we were roommates. So I while I didn't experience it firsthand, I did experience the swings that come with it, and uh, figured out quickly how to adapt. Because at the end of the day, that was my boy, and I wasn't gonna let him. He didn't have a whole lot. He didn't have a lot of friends. They wouldn't. You know. So it's one of those situations that you gotta get under control the best that you can, and that's different for everybody. There's no set. This is how you handle it. No, it's literally case by case, person by person. And the fact that you do have such a solid support system is something that maybe somebody else may not have. So if you could put yourself in the shoes of someone who doesn't have a support system or maybe doesn't know how to build one, where would you steer them to kind of get the help that they would need if that is the case?
I think there's so many directions you can go, even if you don't have a support system, because it's all internal dialogue, right? It's changing the narrative in your head, right? It's realizing that you are not defined by what your mental illnesses are. And that's something I've had to come to terms with. I remember, like, I have a great support system now, but for a while, I remember I didn't feel like I had that. I didn't feel like I had a good support system. So I've been in that shoes where it's like, you don't have a support system and you don't know who you can really trust, and you don't know, I've had that. If I had to steer in any direction, I think it's just therapy is a big thing that I recommend. If you feel alone and you feel like you know, need to start somewhere, I think therapy is such a big thing.
Oh, we lost your camera.
Hold up. We good?
Oh, all
Um,
right. Listen, we lost your camera and we lost fucking ratings, dude. I'm gonna need for you to keep that thing on. We.
sorry.
I'm just playing.
But I think therapy is a huge place to start. I think, a lot of people would be like, there's so many different ways to look at it, right? But I think therapy is a huge way to help. I cannot commemorate my therapist, Susan, enough for everything she's done for me. Even though she continues to tell me how much she hates Hulk Hogan.
I don't blame her. Fuck that guy.
I don't think she's alone there.
But so, but just having someone, I feel like a lot of people look at therapy and they go, well, it makes me weak if I go. It makes me, it's, oh, I have to trust someone my information. Oh, they're paid to listen to me, so they don't care. I'm going to tell you, therapy is the best thing you can do because they are there to listen. They are there to care. It is genuinely one of those things where if you finally can talk to someone, it can help you look at things from a different perspective. Because when you are alone, it's tunnel vision. There's blockers. You're not going to see any other view besides yours.
Grandma and Grandpa's here. They're very proud of you. I just thought I'd let you know.
Oh,
Grandma and Grandpa Dyer,
Grandpa.
welcome to the show. We're so glad that you're here. Welcome to the CCP Podcasting family. I did not mean to cut you off, but they definitely dropped a message in chat. I wanted to relay that to you as quick as possible.
Everyone's just showing up right now. I feel so much pressure now. But when you're alone and you're going through like the struggles of that, like it can feel like you have blockers and you can feel like your vision's just tunneled in on like what your beliefs are. But having that therapist who can kind of remove the blockers for a second and help you just little by little see things, I think would be the first step. And also the first step is admitting that you're not okay. I feel like a lot of people want to sit there and they want to, struggle in silence and they want to just be like, well, I'm okay. I'm not struggling. And it's like one of my biggest moments was admitting, hey, I'm not the happy-go-lucky person that I am. I'm depressed. I get terrible anxiety when I go out in like public, even though I am like, I am like a public figure. I get very bad social anxiety, and I have waves, but admitting that there is a struggle going on changes the game so much more because it's no longer your mental illness is in control of you. It's you're in control of your mental illness. When you can admit that.
I am a big proponent of therapy myself. You share a story, I'll share a story. I tell people that I didn't grow up until I was 32 years old. So I've been an adult for officially a decade. What made me grow up and what made me deal with, I was in an abusive relationship for about 8 years. And I looked past it. It's very toxic. But I had those blinders on. And it was when I almost killed myself that I said to myself, it's time to make a change. And I'll take it a step further. I have a scar on my arm, if I can get that camera there. I have a reminder every day of what can happen if you don't take control, or if you don't go out and try and seek help, or if you think that it's normal and you think that it's okay. Um, I am a firm believer of seeking out help and finding that help. I'm a big believer of talking. My biggest thing was I kept my situation bottled up. I was afraid. I was scared. To know, what what to do or how to handle it. Who do you talk to? And then when you do talk to people, they don't believe you. That's the situations that I was battling. And after this situation happened, and I have to live with this every day. Every day, I have to look in the mirror and understand what I did, and understand that it was not the way to handle the situation. Now, I didn't try and I'm not trying to say that I tried to commit suicide. I did not. What I did do was be very irresponsible, and I started drinking heavily, and I started, drug usage that was way harder than just smoking a joint here and there. And it allowed me and took me to a spot where I put my fist through a window, and I almost killed myself. Well, when I sought counseling, it wasn't until I sat down with somebody, and this was after the incident happened, that I got an opportunity to see how blind I was to what was going on around me. And if it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. It's like your situation. It can happen to anybody. You have to know how to deal with it, and you have to see the warning signs. And something that you said a second ago really resonates with me. It's being able to admit that there is a problem, whether it is with mental health. In my case, when I went down my road, it was alcohol and drug usage. It was a problem. I had to admit that there was a problem to find the solution to that. And don't I don't find sympathy on myself at all, because if I didn't go through that, I would not be the man that I am today. I would not be where I'm at right now. I would not have gotten myself together. It was a reality check. And sometimes when you're dealing with therapy, and this is what I find is the most beautiful thing, and you may resonate with this and you may not, it's having to break yourself down to build yourself back up. You have to break yourself down to find the problem, because you may not know what the problem is. It may not come to you like that. You may have to break yourself all the way down and then build yourself back up. And that's the beautiful thing about sitting down and finding help and looking for help, because you can't do that yourself. Sorry, that's my rant. I get one of those a show. I just used it. But it's life. This is real. This stuff happens, and it happens all the time. And we as a society at some point in time need to open our fucking eyes and be just a little bit more sensitive to everybody around and what's going on around the world. Just a little bit more sensitive. It takes nothing to be fucking kind. Nothing. You can make a choice to do that. You can wake up in the morning and choose to be kind, or you can wake up in the morning and choose to be an asshole. One or the other. I choose kindness over being a dick. I used to be a dick, but I try to be as kind as I can. Sorry, now my rant's over.
No, I mean, exactly as you said.
I do want to say, opening up like that, that's fantastic. And for those that are worried about losing something, he is a product of, you can still seek the help. You'll be 100% and you won't lose anything when it comes to your professional career. It's something that I tell soldiers all the time. As paralegals in the Army, we see a lot of different things, and a lot of people are scared. I'm going to lose my clearance. I'm going to lose this. My life will be over. You won't lose anything. I have been in therapy. I've been diagnosed with clinical depression, all sorts of stuff. I still have my clearance. I still have it. And Wilson Dyer is a perfect example of, you can seek the help and you don't lose anything professionally. It actually makes you better for all of the challenges that continue to come. And that's something that's inspiring. And while we're talking about your professional stuff, I do want to talk about this, because that portfolio that you put out, you have you're big into education. I've seen your degrees. I've seen the stuff that you're doing, and wrestler, social media manager, and you got businesses coming up. Walk me through this amazing portfolio, and if you guys haven't seen it, you really need to go on Instagram. I think you put it on Facebook too. I'm not sure, but walk me through this portfolio and what you're doing.
Oh, hold on. I'm gonna pull it up because it was honestly so for context, it outside of being a pro wrestler, I also have my degree in business administration and business operations. That is because my grandmother. So if my grandmother is still in the chat, I want her to know that is all because of her. She has her bachelor's, master's, one of them, in business administration so she was a huge inspiration for that. But I think the one thing is a lot of wrestlers, they look at their career very, very just like, oh, I need to be in the ring 24/7. And, for me, it was one of those things that I wanted to also continue to show off like my other talents outside of just wrestling. And so I released my creative portfolio, just kind of really showing outside of, Wilson Dyer, the influence, who I am, and, show that, as well as, being that, I'm a social media designer, a business owner, a, content strategist, and just, get that out there. So, obviously I've had my jobs outside of this where I've been, the social media manager for the establishment. I was the, social media manager for a stretch zone. And then I was also, doing content creation for my own business, Blazing Athletics. So, I've had so many opportunities to really just be, 100% creative and be, in the driver's seat. And that's been a really cool thing. So, and I've developed so many just like skill sets because of it, because exactly as like, I think, you see as, when you're looking on like social media is like trends change. And that's one of the biggest things that happens with social media is what does well content wise changes as you grow. So, I've had that, skill set develop where it's like I can, watch something and, realize what's going to continue to stay relevant, and then also look at it and go, okay, this is starting to wean out, so we need to change. And so my creative portfolio is something I'm very proud of. And there's a lot of stuff I don't show off. Obviously, I've gotten to work with Patty on his graphic design for his bookings. I've gotten to work with Jayla. Jayla hasn't put hers out, but hers I'm very proud of. I've gotten to work with Della Rosa, the Most Valuable Rose, the ring announcer. One of my favorite people, by the way. I love Della. She's amazing. And then I've also gotten to work with, a couple of people who, are people I don't know. Like they've reached out, and it's such a cool thing that I got to like share that and show that off to my audience, because it shows that you can be dedicated to one thing and still do others. I'm one of those people, like my mom will tell you since the day I was born, I one track mind, no. I am like 3-track minded. I am like, I can be like here, and then there's 2 other things going on. Ooh, shiny penny. No, it's ooh, shiny penny, quarter, dime, nickel, the whole 9 yards, the whole change jar. And so, I've gotten the pleasure to be able to do that as like a profession. And so, I get to do my creative design work with graphic design and social media management with the establishment. And then also my new, thing is Made by NB Visuals, which is obviously my graphic design company. And then I obviously have my clothing business, Blazing Athletics, and then I also have my wrestling. So I keep my hand full. I keep my hands full. I'm like just where I get to be creatively inclined.
It's what moves the world, man, and I can appreciate that. Everybody has to have that one thing. Yours just happens to be everything.
Yeah,
no, I'm not
not
mad
to my
at
own
it.
horn.
I love it. I think that it shows a lot of different passions and a lot of different avenues that you're going to be able to go down. And again, you're so young right now. Like you're putting yourself ahead of the curve a little bit, and in a good way, the whole way around.
My 21st birthday is on this tour date on the tour.
Oh.
August 19th. I turned 21.
Bro, why is your birthday got to be August 19th?
I don't know.
You share a birthday with two of my sisters. Two of my sisters.
I have the most viral birthday though.
It clearly shows that. I think that's nuts. And what's crazier is on the other side of that equation, my birthday's in September, and I share it with my two other sisters. I have 4 sisters. And in some form or fashion, we share a birthday. It is the weirdest thing. It is the craziest thing. And mind blowing, they're half sisters. So they're different mothers, right? Like my dad got around. he did his thing. But they're half sisters. So it's so strange. I don't know. It's weird how the universe is.
Honestly, speaking of sisters, I need to talk about both my sisters, because one, my sister Dakota, shout out to her because she's the one who took the photos in my creative portfolio. So those photos from that are all because of Dakota. But also Dakota was the first person I called before I did my first day of wrestling training. And I remember just ranting her ear off until 3 in the morning, just talking about it. And then my sister Ashley, who Toddy, you've met. She is the one who my first nephew is because of my sister Ashley. She has my nephew Waylon, who already beats me up. So already getting him on track for, training. So if you guys see Waylon coming down to the ring, I'm going to be in his corner. I love this. I'm going to show this. This was something I got for my, for Christmas from my nephew, but I love both my sisters so much. I think I say to my sisters all the time, they're my best friends. They're my built-in best friends, So when I don't have friends, I just go and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go talk to my sister about what's going on. And, so I just want to give them the shout out, because I shout out my parents last time around, and now I'm like, I need to shout out my sisters so they don't feel unloved.
Oh, you pissed them off with that. You shouted out Mom. They said, no, you left us out. Oh, you had to make sure you made up. I got you.
Yeah, listen, last time around, got a little heat backstage with the fam because of that. had to run it back. Go, all right, guys.
I'll make sure.
I think
I'll make sure we clip that and put it out there for them too, just so that they all know.
Yeah.
That except your parents, I'll edit them out so they can get mad at you this go.
Exactly, and then I'll circle back another time. And then
exactly. That's it. That's the gag. We're gonna constantly leave one out, and there it is.
But I think one of the biggest things that I love, is seeing my nephew grow up, and then also I think that's another reason why I pursue so many passions, is because just like my name, my gimmick name, the Influence Wilson Dyer, I just want him to, I want whoever watches my content and also my nephew to know, as long as you put your mind to it and you put the effort in and you have a passion for it, you can do it. And so, I think that's one of the biggest things I can say is, if you have like a passion, if you feel like you can do something, go out and do it. I'm living proof of that. I am a kid who, like, when I was like probably, let's say, 10 years old, when I first got into wrestling, I was 4'5". I was short. I was undersized. I was tiny. I wasn't what most wrestlers you see at that time were. And now I get to do that. So, as long as you have the vision, want to achieve it, and want to inspire. Oh, sorry. The guy was there. I had to.
Let's see what you did there.
I had to. But as long as you have that dream, I'm living proof that nothing can stop you if you just put your head to the grindstone and really grind for it.
And we can build this dream together, stand in stormy weather. Nothing's gonna stop us now. Sorry. Tata, you got any last minute questions?
Not really a question, but I do want to say to you, um, when you were here before, I remember telling you your star was on the rise, and I said I couldn't wait to see where you were in a year, and you surpassed all of that in just a few months because it's so great to see the businesses, to see the portfolio, the Summer of Influence tour, all of the things that you have going on and going for you, and being an inspiration when you're not getting booed out of the stadium, but being an inspiration to all of the people that you touch. It is so amazing. And I didn't even have to wait a year. So, God, where are you going to be in 3 months from now? Like, that is something that is so amazing. And I really am so happy to see where you're going and everything that you're doing. Your star is continuing to rise and you're going places. So kudos to you and everything that you have been doing, and I know that you're going to continue to do.
Thank you. I very much appreciate that. More than you know.
I have one question, and it's not
Okay.
who should we be watching. It's not who do you want to get.
You want to hear my new list?
Is it
It's
new?
just Mr. Iguana. No, it's just Mr. Iguana.
Okay, Mr. Iguana heard. It's actually I have a question for both of you, for Toddy and for Mr. Dyer.
Okay.
And this one, no pressure on the answer. No, nothing. Just a question. How are you on time for the next 45 minutes?
My schedule's open.
How are you on
I'm
time
fine.
for the next 45 minutes? As we've been sitting here and chatting, and this has been it's been a really great conversation. I could only sit here and think for a second as we were wrapping things up. I would love to watch an episode of Glow with Wilson Dyer.
Oh no!
I would
Let's
love to watch an episode of Glow with Wilson Dyer. Can we watch an episode of Glow? If I will share a screen, I will go through the post-production stuff. If the answer to that question is yes, we'll handle that in just a second. Are you, Todd? Are you good? Can you do an episode of Glow?
I'm
Dyer, you
good. I'm
good?
gonna just apologize to our audience before we even get to Glow because now you're gonna get to see another side of me.
I couldn't help but think about that. But before we get there, if you're live here on Twitch with us, in just a moment you will see an end screen. Don't go anywhere because when we come back, we'll come back and watch an episode of Glow. But before we get there, it is always fantastic to see guys, genuine guys out here growing. And whether it is in the ring, whether it is in the personal life, whether it is with your health, mental and physical, it is fantastic to see. You've been the quickest turnaround, by the way, that we've ever had on Beyond the Belt. Usually I'll wait 6 to 8 months before I circle back around because I want to have a lot to talk about. I want to have a lot more to dive into. This was a different case because you're easy to sit down and talk to, and we can talk about fucking anything and have a genuine adult conversation about it. Anytime you want to come back, all you gotta do is say the word, except our dates are filling pretty fucking quickly. I've not even released July's dates. I've been quietly booking July, and it's halfway gone right now. And there's no end in sight, none, absolutely none. But anytime we can get you on the show, we would love to have you come back and hang out with us, and I will come to the show. Just have to remind me, send me the DM with all the details.
Listen,
Uh,
I will.
And I will put it on my calendar. Devlin's gonna get pissed because it means no British invasion, but he'll be all right.
Yeah, but listen. Next time I come on, I think we need to do like an inside the Indies with the establishment.
We can do that. So side note, like, not only are we scheduling I schedule the Beyond the Bells, but we also do the live watch alongs, and I schedule those on their own, so it doesn't break into a Monday night schedule or anything like that. So just get with me, and I will arrange it around what we already have going on. That's a whole nother situation and a whole nother platform that I'm launching as we speak. I've got someone in Australia, I've got someone in Portugal, so why not have someone in the States? The easiest way, guys, that you can support independent wrestling is by sharing, following, and subscribing wherever you can. Wilson Dyer keeps it simple. It's the Wilson Dyer over on Instagram. If you want to, you need to check out all socials. I think it's Instagram, it's X, I believe it's YouTube. He keeps it all simple. But in the case I'm wrong, Linktree is where you need to hit him up. / the Wilson Dyer. It'll get you everywhere you need to go. Every piece of information, everything will be right there at your disposal. It is always a pleasure, sir, to sit down and chat with you. I cannot wait till we do this again in about 5 minutes, less than, and watch some glow.
Exactly.
For Todrick Tabar Ramsey, for the influencer Wilson Dyer, I am Chris Page. We will see you next time.